Welcome back to another fun-filled show. I'm your host, T.S. Blanchard, aka Free Blanche, aka Blanche Stradamus, aka Blanchy Kruger. And today's title is Satan Holds the Gun, but You Pull the Trigger. Today's title is Satan Holds the Gun, but You Pull the Trigger. Um, so we are living in the aftermath of the Charlie Kirk assassination. There are many answered questions, but there are also many unanswered questions. There are a lot of things that just don't make any sense. The Bible says that God is not the author of confusion. So when things are confusing, we know that God is not the author of that. But if confusion has an author and we know it's not God, then who is the author of confusion? The author of confusion is Satan. You know, when I talk to people, the one thing that's consistent with 99.9% of people is that they never mention Satan. When we talk about the things in this world that happen and go on, even in your own life, people never mention Satan. And I say, well, based on the way the Bible describes Satan, you would think that it would literally be for believers. It would literally be Jesus, and then next would be Satan, because Satan is an adversary in the Bible that seeks to steal, kill, and destroy. I want you to think about this. Think about this in a practical sense. Think about somebody out there, a regular person that wanted to steal, kill, and destroy you. How would you behave? If there was a person out there and the police couldn't catch him, there was a person out there and they wanted to steal, kill, and destroy. When it comes to you, what would you be doing? I'll tell you what you would be doing. You would be exhausting every resource to avoid from that person being able to steal, kill, and destroy. You know, in the military, they say, check your 6 o'clock. You'd be checking your 6 o'clock and your 3 o'clock and your 9 o'clock and your 12 o'clock. You would be more cautious. You would be more aware of your surroundings. You protect yourself. You would put up so many safeguards and measures, you would try to make it almost impossible for that person to steal, kill, and destroy. But when it comes to Satan, you don't do that. When it comes to Satan, you don't do that. So either you believe that Satan isn't a formidable foe, or you believe that Satan isn't real. But in my opinion, both of those things are the same. Charlie Kirk was assassinated, and there are many theories around why. Now, we can spend a lifetime trying to figure out why, but one thing we do know, is that this is alive. This is alive. It's not pre-recorded. I'm live. But one thing we do know is that at the top of all of this, it is the devil. And the enemy is clever. So the reaction that people are giving is the reaction that the enemy wants. Good morning, Leatherface. Good morning. The reaction that people are giving is the reaction the devil wants. So if the devil wants this reaction, you must ask yourself, why? Why does Satan want all these people to react this way? You have the right blaming the left. You have the left blaming the right. You have Black people holding on to their victim card. You have Jewish people holding on to their victim card. You have the trans community holding on to their victim card. You have believers holding on to their victim card. You have Muslims holding on to their victim. You have everybody reacting to this Charlie Kirk assassination, but you think about it, everybody's reacting the same way. Everybody's reacting the same way. And I know on the outside, it looks like people aren't reacting the same way, but they are. John 10 and 10, Leatherface put up here, the thief cometh not but for to steal and to kill and to destroy. I am come that they might have life, and that they might have life, they might have it more abundantly. And so we understand that the counteracting to what the devil wants is for Christ to give us life and life more abundant. Leatherface said to ensure chaos and confusion. Again, the devil is the author of confusion. So the goal behind the Charlie Kirk assassination is confusion. Because the confusion is who did it, why did it happen. Don't think for 1 minute that the blacks aren't happy it happened. Don't think for 1 minute that the Jews aren't happy it happened. Don't think for 1 minute that the right isn't happy it happened. Don't think that the left isn't happy that it happened. Everybody is happy that it happened. Why? Because when it happened, it justifies everybody's beliefs. It confirms them. It confirms everybody's beliefs. It confirms that the left is bad. It confirms that the right is bad. It confirms that America's racist. It confirms that the world's anti-Semitic. It confirms that the world is transphobic. It confirms everybody's beliefs. But everybody's beliefs aren't being confirmed by the word of God. They're being confirmed by an act, and the act committed by Satan. Today's title is Satan holds the gun, but you pull the trigger. Everybody is talking, but nobody is mentioning Satan. And that's the point. The Bible says there's a way unto man which seemeth right, but in the end are the ways of death. So that means every solution that a person comes up with, I don't care if it's the government, I don't care if it's an individual, every solution that a person comes up with ends in death. I want you to think about every solution that man has created and tell me what has been the outcome. Think about any solution, pick any solution, and you tell me what has been the outcome. So you mean to tell me we have all of the evidence that suggests when man comes up with a solution, the end is going to be death? For example, in California, they spend millions and millions, billions and billions of dollars on homelessness every year. But the result of the billions and billions of dollars on homelessness every year ends with more homelessness, more drug addicts, more drug overdoses, more crime, and more death. You see how that works? You see how spending billions and billions and billions of dollars on homelessness only makes the problem worse? You know why? Because there's a way unto man which seemeth right, but the end are the ways of death. Let's fight Islamic terrorism. Let's end Islamic terrorism. The end result, what is it? More people die. More people die with no solution. Let's go find weapons of mass destruction. What happened? You found no weapons of mass destruction and people died. I want you to think about all of these events and the responses to them and tell me which one has yielded a good fruit. None. And the problem is that people don't acknowledge Satan. So if you don't acknowledge Satan, then you don't approach the situation the same way. See, when you don't acknowledge Satan, you think that you can fix it. Because if Satan is what the Bible says he is, if Satan is what the Bible says that he is, for example, 1 Peter 5:8 says, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walk about seeking whom he may devour. 1 Peter 5:8, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour. So my question is, how are you coming up with a solution and you're not factoring in the one force that wants to devour any and everybody? You never mention Satan. So when a person doesn't mention Satan, that lets me know that they're looking at a situation from a strictly carnal mind. And once a man thinks or a woman thinks that they got it all figured out, that's when Satan wins. Nobody on earth has the answer. You know why? Because Christ is the answer. Nobody on earth has the answer. Nobody. Christ is the answer. This is why every solution ends in death. More destruction, more chaos, and more confusion. Now, when it comes to the shooter, I don't know about you all, but I don't believe that this young man did it. And I don't have any proof that he didn't do it, but I know that God is not the author of confusion. I don't have any proof that he didn't do it, but I know that God's not the author of confusion. Now, the way the story is set up, this young man was radicalized in a very short time. He lived a normal and stable life, and then he was radicalized in a very, very short time. Now, we watch a lot of TV and movies, and it makes us believe that this stuff is reality. And so I believe they created reality TV to blur the lines of reality and fiction, meaning that they have us believing that things operate in the real world how they operate in Hollywood. That's why you have reality TV. Does art imitate life, or does life imitate art? And so they have people thinking with a cinematic mind. So they provide the plot for you. They provide the clues. They give you the starring characters. This is how Hollywood does it. It's not real life, though. the chances of someone being radicalized in a short period of time is very rare, because most people that go to college are already liberal. They leave that part out. Most people that go to college went to a public school that was liberal, or they went to a private school that was liberal. So most people that go to college, it's not easy to radicalize them because they're already libtards. They've already been programmed and indoctrinated. They're already a part of mass culture. They're already watching TV. They're already on the social media. They're already programmed by the movies. So they're already primed and ready to be what you call radicalized. So it's not difficult to get these folks to lean a certain way extremely because they're already there. You know, these parents act so confused, but you think about it, your child has spent a lifetime of being programmed and propagandized. So when they go to college, they just add more context to it. They have a physical textbook to look at. They have a professor, they have other people, but it's still the same culture that they grew up in, maybe more intense, maybe more isolated because it's a college campus, but it's still the same culture. So if you ask me, most of these people they're not really being radicalized. They're just fine tuning their radicalization. So this guy, this young man, I don't believe that he was radical at all based on his life. Based on his family and based on his life, it doesn't match up with what they saying he did. Right, JV Chanel, the HBCUs are 5 times as worse. They are. Let me get to some of these scriptures. Shelley Day said, Romans 6:23, the wages of sin is death, but the gift of God is eternal life through Jesus Christ our Lord. Think about that verse. The wages of sin are death, meaning that you basically get a wage from sinning. You get paid. It means that you are working, you are laboring when you are sinning. But then it says, but the gift of God is eternal life, Jesus Christ our Lord. So you got a situation where you're working for something and there's somebody giving you a gift freely. You're working for sin, but then God comes and gives you everlasting life freely. It's a great contrast right there. Thank you, Shelley. Real talk, Nikki. This is why we're told not to lean our own understanding, but to acknowledge God so he can guide our steps. Proverbs 3:5-6. Amen. And yes, this is why when we see something like Charlie Kirk getting shot, like an event happening, we don't run to the media. We go to God. And most of us have too much pride to ask God to close our eyes and let us see the truth. Most of us have too much pride to do. Most of us don't even consider God like that. Most of us don't even give God that much reverence to see a historic event and then go sit down and ask God, dear Lord, is this true what I'm seeing? Most folks have too much pride for it. Most folks don't give God that much reverence. But why would they? Why would they give God reverence if they don't even acknowledge Satan? So if you don't acknowledge Satan, you're not going to give God reverence. Because who's going to protect you from something that's coming to steal, kill, and destroy? You see how that works? You see how when you don't give to Satan any reverence, any respect, you see what you say, oh, Satan can't do nothing to me, all the while you're working for Satan? How many folks y'all heard this say the devil is a lie and lie all the time? How many folks y'all heard say, not today, Satan, but definitely tomorrow and the day after and the week after and the month and the rest of their life? So when we honoring God, we have to acknowledge Satan because there's a force out there that wants our soul. To not acknowledge that means you don't really believe or respect God. Because if you believe that Satan isn't a problem, then that means that you're going to be laxed and you're going to think that you can fix it and you can protect yourself. When in actuality, you can't do it. Thank you, Nikki. You can't do it. But anyway, they want us to believe this young man shot Charlie Kirk. Now, I watched the video again, and yeah, I watched the video again, and my initial reaction to all of this was that it was a setup. Remember, I said that this was above left and right. I initially said this is above left and right because I could tell that this was something else. This was something else. Now, who's leading this investigation? Who's spearheading this investigation? Now, you got folks blaming the left. You got folks blaming the Jews. You got folks blaming the globalists. You got folks blaming the communists. But nobody is blaming the right. Now, I don't mean blaming the right on a surface level. I mean blaming the right for having a part of this. Now, think about this now. We blaming the left. We blaming the Jews. We blaming the communists, the Marxists, the globalists. We blaming everybody, but we're not looking at the right. Now, the right is spearheading this investigation. So the information that we are getting from all of this is coming from the right. In this situation, the right is giving us all this information. So you have to ask yourselves a question. If the right's leading the investigation and the right's giving us the information, and the information isn't making any sense, then what is their role in it? You know what I find funny? I find it funny that people blame the Jews for everything, the world's problems. I don't think that's purely anti-Semitic. I think it comes from Jews being overly represented in a lot of institutions. And the natural thing to do is to blame the people that you feel are in charge. But the funny thing I find is that people never tell you that it was by force. They never tell you that the Jews made us do this. To me, you'd have a better argument if the Jews actually made y'all do it, but I never hear that story. I always hear the Jews, but I never hear anybody say the Jews run this, but we were complicit. The Jews did this, but we were complicit. So even the complaints about the Jews still comes from a victim mindset. Because the question is, what role did you play in your own demise? So in my life specifically, every time I've fallen short, it's been my fault. I've never fallen short and it's not been my fault. It's always been my fault. So even the conspiracy theories are still based in a victim's mentality. And this is how Satan wins. Because if you think you're a victim, you're not going to go to God. Because as Nikki said earlier this week, or maybe last week, God does not allow you to be a victim. Let me go to some of these comments. Did you hear that Candace Owens watched the footage from the camera directly behind Charlie's chair and there was no blood in that video footage? I mean, I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that. Let me see. Stimulated student said, I do not think the left did this or whatever random mentally ill person that is being accused of it. Why would they do it now? That doesn't make sense. Assassinations aren't random. I mean, I agree. Some folks say that Charlie Kirk isn't even dead. Some folks say it's a setup. Danielle Bolden said the right and left are both becoming extreme and becoming the same, which leads to unity, one world government. Amen, Danielle. Thank you. Brandy says Satan wins because he understands spiritual laws. Amen. So I guess the question is, if it's a staged event, if it's a real event, what is the end result? The end result is this is going to be the will of Satan. So, but I do think we should look at what the right is saying about this event versus what is confusing about the event. Because people are saying, so imagine this. So imagine something happens and they present it to you in a nice little package. It was a radical liberal who had think about the story now, think about a movie. It was a radical liberal whose parents were conservative, who had a trans girlfriend, and he goes and assassinates Charlie Kirk, the end. Radical young person, conservative parents, goes to college, gets a trans girlfriend, is radicalized by leftist ideologies in college, kills Charlie Kirk, the end. Nice little bow, nice little story, and everybody can go on about their day. Nah, that's not how that works. That's not how that works. Candace was pointing out that there was no blood from the back, meaning no exit wound. She got the footage from the camera directly behind him that was removed by a TP USA employee. Now, this is true because there is footage of the guy actually moving the camera. And I'm going to say this, which I didn't say earlier. When I watched the footage, honestly, how do we know he wasn't shot from behind? How do we know that? Because it could have came this way and then blood come out this way. Like, I mean, it's, again, I don't believe that kid shot that man. I'm not saying he wasn't a part of it. I'm saying I don't believe that he shot that man. Think about it. What are the chances of a guy in the crowd jumping up, talking about USA, turning right directly to the camera, USA? Then you have the George guy saying he did it. Then his pants falling down. They arrest him, and he was at 9/11, and he was at the Boston City Marathon bombing, and he was at Charlie Kirk's. Like, what are the chances to have all these parts? But we're going to look at some things that should cause us to ask questions. But we know what we should know, that what they're telling us is not true. And again, this is the right giving us this information. This is the right. Let me get into it. Let me try to find. Here we go.
Could you state your name?
Tyler James Robinson.
Thank you for being here, Mr. Robinson. Mr. Robinson, this case is set for September 29th at 10 a.m. It will be a waiver hearing, and I will be the judge assigned to this case. And Mr. Robinson, I invite you to join us at that time. Is there anything further, counsel?
No, yeah, we'll have counsel appointed by then. Thank you.
Mr. Kurander, anything further?
One item, just for clarification, Your Honor, the hearing on the 29th, is that in person or WebEx?
Thank you. That is a great question. It will be via WebEx.
Okay. Thank you, Judge.
All right. I want to thank all parties for being here.
So that's Tyler Robinson. That'll be the judge for the case. Now, obviously, they're going to make this judge a hero because he presided over this case, but it's just he just got selected for the case. But anyway, let's continue. He seems rather calm for a guy that's about to possibly be get the death penalty. But let's continue.
Something's wrong. I know I shouldn't do this. I'm risking an awful lot to go up against this FBI, the MAGA FBI. Something's very wrong with what I just heard. I mean, I watched it. I was hoping that they had caught the bastard who shot Charlie. So we saw a video of a person jumping off the roof. It looked very legitimate to me. However, there was no rifle in his hand. Now, the Mauser does not break down very easily, incidentally, for those of you who know weapons. Something's wrong with the whole thing. They're trying to claim he removed the barrel from the Mauser and fit the receiver and stock in his backpack and barrel in his pants leg, all in 2 seconds. It is not easy to remove a Mauser barrel or index it after reinstalling and remain accurate. We are not hearing or seeing reality. And by the way, the photo of the rifle allegedly left in the woods has the barrel installed. So we're supposed to believe a guy is on the run after killing Charlie Kirk, and he pauses in the woods to reinstall a barrel, and then he leaves it for us to find, the FBI to find. I don't believe a word of it.
And what's funny is, so imagine 3 seconds after Charlie Kirk was shot, this guy is running. 3 seconds. So I hear somebody in the chat saying they believe it was an easy hit. The hit could have been easy. I'm not saying the hit couldn't have been easy. It's just the explanation of the hit. Like, nobody is denying that Charlie Kirk could have been shot. Anybody can get shot. But we're talking about the explanation of what happened. Because the explanation can't be ridiculous out of something that's very practical. So in a practical sense, Charlie Kirk can get shot from 200 yards away from a young, radicalized, liberal guy that used to hunt. It's possible. But the flip side is that being so normal and impossible, the explanation of it can't be ridiculous. People only raise their eyebrows up with the explanation. Everybody pretty much accepted that Charlie Kirk could have been shot, but people raise their eyebrows at the explanation. So again, 3 seconds after Charlie Kirk was shot, this guy was running. There's video of him jumping off a building. There's video of him running. We see all this on the camera. So the question is, what did he do with the gun? If he disassembled the gun, that takes longer than 3 seconds. If he reassembled the gun, what would be the point? So you don't go through all of these checks and balances to even set up the shot, actually pull everything off. This is a plan. This is something that's planned. So you don't go from planning everything down to a T and then getting ridiculous. When somebody goes to rob a bank, they have what they're going to do before they go to the bank, what they're going to do inside the bank, and what they're going to do when they leave the bank. And that's just with a bank robbery, not an assassination. A coach of a sports team, what we're going to do in the beginning of the game, middle of the game, end of the game. What plays we're going to run press. So we see this in life where people set these things up. So you're not going to convince me that this guy did all this planning to kill Charlie Kirk, and then when he was done, he became a retard. I don't buy it. I don't buy it.
I shouldn't do this. I know I'm putting myself at risk, but I can't take it anymore. I can't take the bullshit from this fucking government. It's lying to us. Something's wrong. Something's so wrong. It's sickening. Look at this idiot. They found the rifle and they're getting the prints. Are you stupid? Are you that stupid? Are you that dumb? The man jumps off the roof. There's no rifle there. Oh, it's in his backpack. I just told you, moron, that this rifle doesn't break down that easily. And then it's supposed to be reassembled while he's on the run. Wait, I'll stop now and reassemble it and leave it in the woods in a box, wrapped in a towel. He left breadcrumbs. Oh, and the trans stuff on the cartridges. Bullshit. Something is wrong with this whole fucking picture.
And again, it just doesn't make any sense. It's like, okay, we're going to do something and everything is going to point in one direction. We're going to do something and everything that we do is going to point in one direction. Everybody's here. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. It just doesn't make any sense.
I am persona non grata in this White House. I will tell you right now, I flew with Donald Trump in Air Force One. I consider him close to me. I have not been able to get near him since this administration took hold. They have thrown me out. They've castigated, thrown me in the desert. They don't want me near them. They don't want real truth tellers near them. Sean Hannity, immediately, that pimp scumbag, goes on the air and repeats the government lie, that lousy son of a bitch. How the fuck does Sean Hannity live with himself? Well, we just prove, and he had the, Sean, you know what? Kept animal. You're like a whore. Kept in a brothel. Sean Hannity, you've always been a whore in a brothel. You have hit a new low, Hannity, and something is wrong. Somebody killed this young guy, and everyone is asking who done it, and we're supposed to believe they think we're this stupid? So Kash Patel is there and he doesn't say a word, and Donald Trump's in the Yankee Stadium? What the hell is going on here? I'm just an American citizen who's been in the business of observing since I'm 18 years old, and I don't buy one word of this narrative, not one single word. So I'm going to end in a moment.
So let me see, Tyler Robinson's text message. Tyler Robinson's text message thread. Let's see what it says. So here goes a text thread. Drop what you are doing. Look under my keyboard. This is September 10th. What? The roommate looked under the keyboard and found a note that stated, I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk and I'm going to take it. What? You're joking, right? This is the roommate. I am still okay, my love, but am stuck in Orem for a little while longer yet. Shouldn't be long until I come home, but I got to grab my rifle still. To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. I am sorry to involve you. You weren't the one who did it, right? I am. I'm sorry. I thought they caught the person. know if they grab some crazy old dude. Then, hold on, let's see if we can find some more, because I had a longer one. Let me see if I can read this one. Okay. No, they grabbed some crazy old dude, then interrogated someone in similar clothing. I had planned to grab my rifle from the drop point shortly after, but most of the side of town got locked down. It's quiet almost enough to get out, but there's one vehicle lingering. Why? Why did I do it? Yeah. I had enough of his hatred. Hold on. So I just was told in the chat that it wasn't planned, but this guy is mentioning drop points. So a drop point is a pre-planned spot. Now I heard he didn't do any planning intake, but he said he had a drop point and he was preparing to escape. So we know this much, that he quote unquote planned to kill Charlie Kirk. He planned to have a drop point and he planned to escape. So there was planning that went into this, if you want to believe this story. So to say that it didn't take any planning is not true based on the person that you believe did it. This is not my word. This is the guy that said this. This is the guy texting this. It's not me. This is Tyler. Now listen now, pay attention. I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. If I'm able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence. Going to attempt to retrieve it again, hopefully they have moved on. I haven't seen anything about them finding it. How long have you been planning this? A bit over a week, I believe. I can get close to it, but there's a squad car parked right by it. I think they already swept that spot, but I don't want to chance it. I'm wishing I had it circled back and grabbed it as soon as I got to my vehicle. I'm worried what my old man would do if I didn't bring back Grandpa's rifle. Now, again, I want you to think about a person that just assassinated somebody. And I want you to think about him saying, I'm afraid of how my dad's going to respond to not bringing back my grandpa's rifle. So far, who is buying this text thread? Thank you, Laura Wilson. It's a bad script. But the question is why? It's a bad script and it's coming from the right. This is my point. This isn't the left. This is the right doing this. These are the good guys doing this. You can't blame this one on the left. And you can blame the incident on the left, but you can't blame the response on the left. All of this is the right doing this. This is the right giving us this nonsense. Let's continue. I'm worried what my old man would do if I didn't bring back Grandpa's rifle. I don't know if it had a serial number, but it wouldn't trace to me. I worry about prints. I had to leave it in the bush where I changed outfits. Didn't have the ability or time to bring it with. I might have to abandon it and hope they don't find prints. How the F will I explain losing it to my old man? Only thing I left was the rifle wrapped in a towel. Remember how I was engraving bullets? The effing messages are mostly a big meme. If I see notices bulge UWU on Fox News, I might have a stroke, all right, I'm going to have to leave it. That really effing sucks. Now, I might have been born at night, but I wasn't born last night. I might have been born at night, but I was not born last night. And I don't see. There was a video. Oh, here we go.
We're back in the studio and we got a lot of questions, so check this out. Okay, so here's a timeline, right? Fill me in on this. So Robinson drives past that house. Allegedly, that's his challenger at 8:23. At 8:29, he arrives at this university.
And what are the chances of him using the YN mode of transportation? What are the chances of him doing this in his Dodge Challenger? I thought it was hilarious. He riding around in the Dodge Challenger. It's just funny because that's been deemed the YN mode of transportation, but now we see it's also for snipers as well. But let's continue.
All right, we're back in the studio and we got a lot of questions, so check this out. Okay, so here's a timeline, right? Fill me in on this. So
Figgy, if it's a waste of time, then go spend your time doing something more productive. You don't have to be here. You can just leave. Figgy, if this is wasting your time, then go do something productive. Go read your Bible. Go read Proverbs 31 if this is a waste of time. Go sit down and read Proverbs 31.
all right, we're back in the studio and we got a lot of questions, so check this out. Okay, so here's a timeline, right? Fill me in on this. So Robinson drives past that house. Allegedly, that's his challenger at 8:23. At 8:29, he arrives at this university. How did he know? You mean to tell me he leaves his house and then just magically shows up at this university with this rifle and this master plan to assassinate Kirk? And he is confident that he's going to be able to figure out some roof that he can get on and get in a line of sight at Kirk? And think about this. There was no handgun. There was no master plan. This guy thought all of this through. He was so clever that he had decoys and he could evade police, and there's no security footage of him actually climbing up onto the roof. He did all this, plotted all this out, came up with this master plan, and there was no backup plan to take out Kirk. He was just going to go, what? Oh, yep, couldn't get on a roof. Couldn't get there in that perfect spot and the only spot on campus that I could have taken this shot from, right? And if that didn't work, I was just going to pack up my bags and go home. I was going to scout this all out, climb up on roofs with my long rifle, change my outfits, get a towel, don't get a towel, disassemble my rifle, all of this master plan. And if it didn't work out, I was just going to go home and call it a day. I was that radicalized. Because he's seen walking back at about 10 o'clock. So sometime in an hour and a half, he comes here and scouts this entire location and figures out, how did he even get onto the roof? Was there a ladder there? Did he jump up onto a building? Did he climb onto an air conditioning unit? How did he know to get onto this roof? And how did he know that being on that roof was going to have a clear line of sight into Charlie Kirk? You would have had to have known that there weren't going to be any bushes, that they weren't going to set up any fucking mounts.
So in other words, you would have had to know that the building that you picked and where you were was going to be an exact place to get a clear shot on Charlie Kirk and get away. Keep in mind the getaway part. You had to pick a building, so that means you had to know where Charlie Kirk was going to be set up. You had to know which building to get on top of, and you had to be able to escape. But you want me to believe that this random kid in Utah did all of this. The same guy that's messing with a trans. It's just hard to believe. It's just hard to believe. But even if he planned it, think about this now. What if Charlie's team, Turning Point, decided to have Charlie on the west side of the campus or the east side of the campus? or in the what if they decide to switch plans? Then what? Then what? What was your plan B? What was your plan B if he had bulletproof glass up? You see how this doesn't make any sense?
Any photos, any banners, anything up here, there were going to be a student that were going to be standing in the way. He would have had to have known that he was going to be able to take this shot from this location. And he would also had to have known that that's where they were going to position Charlie Kirk. So I want to know who on this dude's team, when was the decision made that Charlie Kirk was going to go to this university? And then what time did they start setting up? Because if Charlie didn't start to speak till noon, and all they did was pop up one of these little tent things and set up some metal guardrails, was that set up? Did the Turning Point team, has anybody spoken with anybody at the team that was at that event? Was that set up the night before? Was this something that Tyler could have scouted the night before? Is it always set up the night before? If it's not, because I look at this thing and I go, okay, Charlie's speaking at 12. Like that little dinky setup with that pop-up thing, that type of setup, we could have set that up in like an hour. Like there was little guardrails and then Charlie's booth and some camera equipment. So yeah, I forgot about the camera equipment if they were live streaming that, but maybe. So you mean to tell me Charlie's team is here? His security team's here at 8 in the morning, setting up all this equipment that morning? I'm asking you, maybe they set it up the night before, but they wouldn't have set up the camera equipment the night before. That would have been the longest part of that. And then you would have had to guarantee that he was going to be in range and you're going to be able to take that shot. If not, you're going to risk being on a roof with 3,000 to 4,000 kids walking around you.
And this is the crazy part, right? So the crazy part is we're talking about a college campus. We're talking about thousands of students everywhere. We're talking about that area having more activity. And we're talking about a 200-yard shot that you have to. So in other words, I guarantee this person doesn't have 100% kills when it comes to him hunting. Meaning that when he's hunting, he's missed the target before. But when it comes to killing a person, you don't miss. No practice shots. No shots from shooting off a roof. I'm just saying. So let's say for argument's sake, he did do it. Do you think he was operating alone? And if he wasn't operating alone, then who was he working with? And if he was working with somebody, then why did the FBI find this out? Now, again, like Baby for Life said, the text messages are supposed to convince us of everything. The text messages. The text messages that he sent to the roommate are supposed to get, and this is what I mean by we have already been conditioned to have this Hollywood cinematic mind. Let me ask you all a question. Does this text message sound like you're talking to your quote unquote love of your life? Listen to it. I am still okay, my love, but I am stuck in Orem for a little while longer yet. Shouldn't be long until I can come home, but I got to grab my rifle still. To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. I am sorry to involve you. You weren't the one who did it, right? I am sorry. I thought they caught the person. No, they grabbed some crazy old dude, then interrogated someone in similar clothing. I had planned to grab my rifle from my drop point shortly after, but most of that side of town got locked down. It's quiet, almost enough to get out, but there's one vehicle lingering. Why? Why did I do it? Yeah. I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. If I'm able to grab my rifle unseen, I would have left no evidence. Going to attempt to retrieve it again. Hopefully they have moved on. I haven't seen anything about them finding out. How long have you been planning this? a bit over a week, I believe. I can get close to it, but there's a squad car parked right by it. I think they're already swept the spot, but I don't want to chance it. Who talks like that? Who talks like that? Who? You mean to tell me I'm texting you and saying, I just shot somebody, and you're not going crazy in the text message? And if I was radical enough to do this to Charlie Kirk, don't you think my lover would have known? If I was so radical as to assassinate someone, don't you think my lover would have known? Don't you think we both would have been in agreement that Charlie Kirk was a transphobic person? So either it shouldn't have been a shock, or it really should have been a shock. But this calm text exchange is not really realistic. If you text your wife and say, I lost my job, it's going to be more intense than this. If you text your wife and say, I can't pay the mortgage, it's going to be more intense than this. If you text your girlfriend and say, I cheated, it's going to be more intense than this. In any other scenario we can pick, it's going to be more intense than this. Hey, babe, your best friend called me and she said your girl's going ballistic. Matter of fact, she's not texting you, she's calling you. If your girlfriend finds out that her best friend slept with you, she's going to call you. So you mean to tell me that you found out that your boyfriend shot somebody and you're not picking up the phone? You're having a casual text exchange? It doesn't make any sense. I get it. I know the guy is a trans. He ain't a real woman, but still. But still, I just told you I popped somebody. It's all over the news. The video of it happening is everywhere, uncensored. And you just casually saying, but why, my love? Wherefore thou used a rifle, my love? How did the bullet come forth the barrel, my love? What motivated you, my love? My love, I was motivated because his rhetoric, my love, cannot be negotiated with, my love. My passion burned so deep for you. That's why I shot the man and I am on the run now. And I am calmly explaining what's going on. I'm casually and calmly explaining to you, my love, what's going on, but I did it for you, my love. You did it for me? Yes, for you. For me? Oh, this is so romantic. Romeo and Julius, this is so beautiful. Where's your car, my love? You left behind the Challenger? Not the one with the scat pack. I did, my love. I left my scat pack and my rifle for you, my love. Y'all buying this? Y'all believe in this? Romeo and Julius, y'all believe in this? I just told you I just shot somebody. You saw the video and you just casually talking to me? You don't want to call me? You don't want to come see me? Nothing? My love, you shot Charlie Kirk? Yes, my love, for you. My heart beats and it burns for you. Where's your rifle, my love? I hid it by the Shire, right by the brook, where the hobbits and the gnomes are playing, right there, my love. Oh, for me? Yes, for you, my love. He had to be silenced. Oh, I fear what my father's going to think. I took my grandfather's sword and I used it. Oh, what is my father going to think? I don't care about the FBI. I don't care about the cameras. I don't care about witnesses. I don't care about the police. I care about what my father thinks. about me unsheathing my grandfather's sword and using it. Are y'all buying this? Are y'all believing this? Am I tripping? Am I tripping? They just gave us the modern day version of Romeo and Julius. And Montel Williams was on the CNN all but confirming that narrative. Montel Williams said that he heard Charlie Kirk say something about trans and then grabbed his rifle and shot from 200 yards away. Let's continue.
And you're a sniper and you're up on this roof and all this is going on. Everything around you, 4,000 kids walking around this building right here. They would have been flooding in from everywhere. And you got to talk about, there was school going on that morning. That was open campus, right? That didn't happen on a weekend? Shit, what day was Charlie shot on? No, that happened on a Wednesday. That campus would have been full. That campus would have been full. Class probably starts at what? I had classes at 6 or 7 in the morning. So by 8 a.m., the campus is packed. Students are pulling in. So you mean to tell me he climbs up there and gets into position and scouts this out? Because if he climbed up on that roof, he would have had to climb up on that roof when school was full, when students were coming and going, where teachers are out there and the faculty's around. And somehow he's up on the roof of this building undetected, and they don't have some type of security guard that's in the office that's watching. In the office, you have cameras everywhere. So somehow he manages to evade the entire campus camera system. Nobody sees him getting onto that roof as he's scouting it out from 8:30 to 10 a.m. There's a whole lot more that's not making sense with any of this. And this all started because somebody sent me a DM and they're going, you know, I'm at a point where I'm really literally ready to put up a $10,000 bounty for any students that have any new video evidence that we haven't seen that actually leads to something. So I potentially could get you guys a fat payday. If you're a student and you got some evidence, you got a video of this shooter, you got anything that can give us pointers and leads of any direction whatsoever, there might be people that are willing to pay you for that in a good amount of money. So my DMs are open. I can put you into contact with the person. You guys can work it out. I don't want to deal with it. But there are people out there that are really, really upset with what's going on here in America, and they're not believing the story and they want answers. So we're going to keep hitting this, and let me know what you guys think.
Yeah. So they give us the text messages to frame the story, to give us the narrative. And then they want you to believe that it's just randomly happened. And, you know, it's just, he was a radical leftist, trans. Is not saying it's not possible, but this is highly unlikely. As Leatherface said earlier, not saying it's not possible, but is it probable? Katrina John said, what's crazy is the leftist media is not even questioning this narrative. They're just celebrating it, right? Like, it's just, I don't know. But let's continue. Let's continue.
You take a look at this post by Jake Shields, and then down for an assassination.
Well, not this one. Hold on. Because he had another one. I don't know why I can't find the other videos this guy did. Okay, it might be this one. Let me come back to him and I'll go to this one.
People are like, why don't you believe the official story? I don't know, because I'm not an idiot. Respectfully, where you been at, Nancy Drew? Because they've been lying to us since before we were even born, dog. Which part of the story do you find to be credible? It's like, oh, Poopstein definitely poops himself, and then the cameras, they didn't work, and I've never even heard about that. But actually, they did work, and here they are, and it shows you absolutely nothing, and the time is missing. And it's like, what was the point where you really were convinced? It's like, oh, I don't know, maybe when you told me that a paper passport flew out of a passenger jet and landed on the ground in perfect form and got picked up and given to a person of authority in like an hour. And then the most comprehensive security apparatus to protect the most important person in the history of modern time, just some guy just climbed on the nearest, most obvious roof and nobody noticed it, and one person got fired, and we're just like, okay, it was some nerd. And now it's like, don't worry, guys, nothing to see here. He showed up in a maroon shirt with shorts on, but then he changed to all black clothing to hide on a white roof, and he just climbed up there with nobody noticing or nobody caring, but civilians noticed it, and there's videos of it, but who cares about that? And he had it in his pant leg, which justifies the way that he was walking that way, but when you show the grainy pictures that look like they were taken in 1983, well, those pictures show some grainy thing that actually show both legs being bent, but that's totally fine, because he built it on the roof, because that doesn't take a long time or anything, but he did it with a screwdriver, but he wanted to cover his tracks, so he left the screwdriver there. And after he reassembled it, or maybe he didn't, maybe he did, he hit a target 200 yards away with no practice shot with complete precision, and then he left the screwdriver behind and jumped off the roof, and there's a video of it, and it kind of looks like there is nothing there, but maybe it is, because who cares? Who cares about your lying eyes? But don't worry, we'll give you some low quality video that doesn't track anything, even though every single person has a $50 Ring camera on their front door that shows HD 4K, but a college campus that has a ton of money that has all of these different things canvassing the entire place, you get some grainy, scrumbly photo 2 days later. And then he ran away and jumped into the woods without anybody noticing, and then left the most crucial piece of evidence behind and wrapped it in a towel with his DNA on it, you know, because he was trying not to be discovered. He was trying to keep it a secret. And then he changed his clothes for no reason, only to change back into them later. And did he disassemble it? Well, he reassembled it just to leave it in the woods, but he didn't have time to pick it up to take it with him, because it's the most crucial piece of evidence that was really near the scene. And then he escaped without a trace for multiple days behind the most high-quality security apparatus that's ever existed in the history of time, only to be discovered when he turned himself in, but didn't admit that he did it, but turned himself in for, I don't know, nothing while not admitting it. What did you say you did? Nothing, but you're there now? Only to leave a note that now doesn't exist, to then go and text message all of the crucial details to make a legitimate paper trail that completely traces and pins the entire blame on you for absolutely no reason, then saying, delete it, like they can't recover those messages, because that makes sense because you want to cover it up. Only to completely implicate yourself in writing, even though you wanted it to be covered up. You wanted to keep it to your grave. But it's like, remember when I was etching that thing into those things? Then you lived with that guy or gal or whatever for a year, but you didn't talk about it. It's like, why are you etching that into that? Only to get some non-timestamp messages on a Word doc days later that completely implicate you, and then the crucial press conference where you're supposed to reveal all the details. The lead investigator of the entire country for this very important thing is standing right behind you, and the questions are taken by the governor. That's totally believable.
Everything he said is factual. I know it was comedy, but every single thing he said in here was factual. Everything. Everything is factual. P. Dot said, remember that Epstein was committed suicide under Trump's administration. Let me see Epstein, because if I remember correctly, they said let me see. How did Epstein die? Let me see. How did Epstein die? Let me see. Let me see. When Epstein was placed in the security housing unit, the jail informed the Justice Department that he would have a cellmate and that a guard would look into the cell every 30 minutes. These procedures were not followed on that night he died. On August 9th, Epstein's cellmate was transferred and no replacement was brought in. The evening of his death, Epstein met with his lawyers, who described him as a upbeat before being escorted back to SHU at 7:49 p.m. by the guard Tova Noel. CCTV footage shows that the two guards failed to perform the required institutional count at 10 p.m. and recorded Noel briefly walking by Epstein's cell at 10:30. The last time the guards entered the tier where the cell was located. Through the night, in violation of the jail's normal procedures, Epstein was not checked every 30 minutes. The two guards assigned to check his cell overnight, Noel and Michael Thomas, fell asleep at their desk for about 3 hours and later falsified related records. 2 cameras in front of Epstein's cell also malfunctioned that night. Another camera had footage that was unusable. So I'm going to say this. Let's forget the Epstein list, and we can just look at how Epstein died and how everything worked out perfectly for him to unalive himself in his cell. The guards fell asleep for 3. Who do you know falls asleep for 3 hours at their job? 3 hours? Both men fell asleep for 3 hours? Who falls asleep at their desk, at their job, where they have to watch prisoners for 3 hours? And what are the chances of 2 individuals being tired at the same exact time, at the same moment, so tired that they are both sleeping for 3 hours? Most people fall asleep at work for 5 to 10 minutes and they jump up feeling like it's been all day. Do you know how comfortable you got to be to sleep for 3 hours at a job? 3 hours? Most people doze off at work and hop up wondering if the whole building's on fire. Like, come on, man. Come on. Again, forget the Epstein list. Let's just look at how he was killed. So you mean to tell me the 2 guards fall asleep, they don't do the check, they fall asleep, they remove his roommate, and the cameras don't work? I'm a conspiracy theorist, though. I'm a conspiracy theorist. The cameras don't work. They remove the roommate. The guards fell asleep for 3 hours. And he unalived himself. But I'm a conspiracy theorist. As the guards were distributing breakfast shortly after 6:30 on the morning of August the 10th, Epstein was found unresponsive in cardiac arrest in his cell. He was found in a kneeling position with a strip of a bed sheet wrapped around his neck. The sheet was tied to the top of his bunk. I want you to listen, people. I'm going to say this again. He was found kneeling on the ground with the bed sheet tied to the top of the bunk. So that means he hung himself, but he was still on the ground. Forget the Epstein list. Forget the Epstein list. Because the Epstein list don't even matter. To me, the smoking gun is this. Jarrell said, and the best part is nobody got in trouble. How do you not get fired from your job after you fell asleep in a prison and somebody died? Okay. Epstein's knees were touching the ground. The bed sheet was attached to the top of the bunk. So his knees are on the ground. The bed sheet is attached to the top of the bunk. My question for you all is, how did that work? Let's set the Epstein list aside. Let's set it aside. So you want me to believe that on the night that Epstein unalived himself, they removed his roommate. The guards did not check on him and actually went to sleep for 3 hours. The cameras didn't work. And he hung himself while still on the ground. If you ask me, the whole Epstein list, client list thing is actually a distraction from what actually happened in the prison. Because to me, what happened in the prison, now you're going to start asking questions. Okay, the guards involved, the prison's involved. That means the state's probably involved. The city's, you see what I'm saying? You see, when you go, forget the list because the list is too, you know, we already know there's people on the list. We forget that. When you go to that prison, though, now you got to involve everybody. You got to involve the state, the city, the governor, the mayor, the guards, the prison. The man hung himself while his knees were on the ground. That's like a person that's over 6 feet, but they drown in a foot of water. It's possible, but it's not very probable. It's possible to possibly die from hanging yourself while your knees are on the ground and you have the sheet attached to the top of the bunk, not even the ceiling. It's possible, but it's highly unlikely. So to me, this should be the question about Epstein, not the client list. The question should be, how did all these things work out perfectly for Epstein to unalive himself? Even the ridiculous way he unalived himself. They removed his roommate, his cellmate. The guards fell asleep for 3 hours, didn't check. The cameras weren't working, and he was able to hang himself with his knees still on the ground and the sheet attached to the top of the bunk. That's the smoking gun, not the list. That's the smoking gun, because that right there has tangible ties to involvement of individuals. That means roommate, cellmate, that means guard, that means camera system, that means prison, that means warden, that means mayor, that means governor, that means government. Let's continue. Let's continue.
Let me get this right. Candace Owens just dropped a bombshell, and Morgan Ariel reported on this. Check this out. So let me get this straight. Tyler, you're the man who just assassinated Charlie Kirk on a university that would have thousands, and I mean thousands of surveillance photos all throughout the university. He's wearing the same maroon shirt. He's got the same black.
Now, hold on. Think about this, y'all. Think about this. Somebody was on this chat earlier, and they were complaining about this being a waste of time. But this was after they told me to check out Candace Owens. So when Candace Owens did it, it wasn't a waste of time. But when I do this, it's a waste of time. But just for a couple of minutes later, what Candace Owens said being used in the video. This is why you can't be hasty, people. This is why you got to be patient. Don't let your emotions make you miss out on something. Don't let your pride make you miss out on something. Just was saying, check out Candace Owens, then got upset, left the chat just for Candace Owens, what she presented to be brought up. This is why you got to be patient. Patient is a virtue. You cannot be a virtuous person if you're not patient. If you see a hasty person is always in sin. A hasty person is always in sin, always. Because when you move hastily, you're not putting your trust in God. Let's continue.
So let me get this right. Candace Owen just dropped a bombshell, and Morgan Ariel reported on this. Check this out. So let me get this straight. You're Tyler. You're the man who just assassinated Charlie Kirk on a university that would have thousands, and I mean thousands of surveillance photos all throughout the university. He's wearing the same maroon shirt. He's got the same black glasses, black hat with a little white logo on it, right? So that's our boy. This is at 6:38 p.m. So this is roughly it's 6 hours and 14 minutes after the assassination. So this is after he's talking to his boyfriend, he's talking to his trans lover, and he's just like, yeah, man, I'm hungry. And instead of going through the drive-thru after I just carried out this assassination, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna swing into a public McDonald's. And I'm gonna order some food. It looks like, what is that? Is that an ice cream? Is he snacking on a little ice cream? He's got a little one of those nuggets. Yeah, man, I'm just gonna have myself some nuggets. I'm gonna sit here, maybe I'm gonna read the newspaper, chill out, hang out in public. After I have no clue, I'm all over a university. My face is everywhere. I'm not gonna disguise I'm not gonna change my outfit. I'm gonna wear the same maroon shirt on that I had scouting out that campus this morning. I'm gonna keep my white shoes on. I'm gonna keep my black hat on. I'm gonna keep it all on. Because YOLO, right, bro? YOLO. You only assassinate once, right? So this is rough.
So after this guy assassinates Charlie Kirk, he gets hungry. He talks to his boyfriend, and then he decides to go get Chick-fil-A. Now, what's interesting about this is that Chick-fil-A what's the controversy surrounding Chick-fil-A? What's the controversy surrounding Chick-fil-A? Anybody know? Can anybody give me what was the controversy surrounding Chick-fil-A? Okay, Tierra. That's one, Tierra. That's one. Trump support. What's the other one? What's the big one? No, not white. What? Thank you, P. Dot. Thank you, P. Dot. They hate the LGBTQP. Don't forget X, Y, and Z community. So why would this guy who was so pro-trans decide to go to Chick-fil-A? Why would he decide to go to Chick-fil-A? There's a saying that says the devil is in the details. So what I said with Epstein, don't worry about the list, worry about how he died. This guy, don't worry about the shooting, what did he do afterwards? The devil is in the details. You mean to tell me that this guy was so pro-trans LGBTQ that he would take someone's life, but he wasn't pro-trans and LGBTQ enough to not go to Chick-fil-A? Make it make sense. It doesn't make sense. There's no way this young man would be going to Chick-fil-A, which is a Christian, conservative, Trump supporting, quote unquote, anti-LGBTQ establishment. There's no way he would go there. If we remove our emotions, I promise you we can see the truth. Jarrell said, I thought he would have went to Dairy Queen. That was a good one, Jarrell. Could be AI, I don't know. But regardless, Epstein not being dead isn't that far-fetched. It's not. Because everything surrounding his death is a literal question mark. Everything. There's not a single thing surrounding his death that isn't a question mark. None of it. It's literally one big question mark. Cruise Missile said, I guess he doesn't like Five Guys. Cruise Missile said, I guess he doesn't like Five Guys. Y'all are hilarious, man. What I find funny is in Chick-fil-A, the cameras are HD. But on the campus, the cameras are from 1976. In Chick-fil-A, the cameras are HD, but on the campus, the cameras are like you shooting a still picture. I might have been born at night, but I wasn't born last night. But let's continue. Let's continue. Somebody said there was another, let me see, somebody posted this about First Amendment. Have you seen a post by Baxter Dimitri, CIA insider, exposes a plot to repeal First Amendment following Charlie Kirk false flag? Now listen, let me check this guy out. I'm not saying that it can't be a false flag, meaning that, you know, I don't believe the event was just a random event, a random act of violence. Yeah, there is a plot. We don't know what the plot actually is, but we know there's a plot. Well, I think if we find out who was behind the whole Epstein unaliving event, I think it will lead us to where the babies are. Just like we find out who's behind this Charlie Kirk thing, it will lead us to where the babies are. Because all of these, when these questions get answered, they lead us a certain direction. And they shut it down. They don't want us to find out the actual truth.
Give you a play-by-play. This is the order you can expect things to change in when you are being psyoped. Is that about right?
That's exactly right. I'll give you the exact steps. If the government was going to pull off what we would call a world-changing manufactured event, the first part of that, before you get to the actual steps, this is called the Overton window.
I do know the Overton window, yeah. For anyone who doesn't know what that is, the Overton window is basically all the information that it's acceptable to talk about in public. So what I drew here really quick was, this is the Overton window in the middle, and then on one side you have an H for denial, and over here you have the hammer and sickle for bring back the Soviet Union. Those are things you could not put on the news because people would go, whoa, it's getting a little crazy, right? So the Overton window is just all the things that people don't think are crazy to talk about. They know how to move the Overton window one way or the other, or stretch it or shrink it.
Exactly. The first part of the process is the Overton window has to be moved to where what's about to happen becomes acceptable to talk about. You have what's called a normalization phase. During the normalization phase, news organizations talk about the subject. Let's pretend for a minute. Let's go back to the drones. Let's say that the drones turned into something that was even bigger than it was. They would be putting up footage of drone activity all the time.
In case you don't remember, that's exactly what they did.
And what that does is it normalizes to the rest of America that this is common. This is happening all the time. Once you're desensitized, you're willing to accept even more. After you normalize it, is setting the stage for the big reveal.
So then after you normalize something and put it in the Overton window, what they would then do would be something like saying, hey, there are even more people with even more information that's coming, and we're about to find out what it is. And that creates tension and fear in the general public, and they start needing to know what's coming.
So now you ramp it up, you get the anticipation. That invokes the need of some sort of salvation, some sort of rescuing.
So once they normalize the thing and then they create fear around it, then they give the public the idea that they need to be saved from the thing.
And the someone always ends up being a government organization. And that's what they want you to think, is the government needs to step up to rescue us.
And they so eloquently explain how psyops work. And they mentioned the Overton window, you being able to discuss certain things. And once you're able to discuss it and normalize it, and it gets you prepared to actually see the event. P. said it happened the day before 9/11. What I found interesting was that notice how Charlie Kirk's assassination replaced 9/11. Because the next day, I barely saw any tributes to 9/11. Everything was about Charlie Kirk. Matter of fact, I even posted a video about 9/11 that I had did a couple days before. But I barely saw any 9/11 propaganda. It was all about Charlie Kirk. So notice how they replaced a whole holiday, because it is a holiday. They replaced the holiday with the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Now, in the future, they may combine both of them. I don't know, but I noticed the next day that they were not celebrating 9/11. And 9/11 is supposed to be the most patriotic thing you can do, is celebrate the towers falling. Jarrell said it would take a lot to get rid of the First Amendment, or he said an amendment, First and Second Amendment. But I venture to say that you can get rid of an amendment through a civil war. If you can create a fake civil war, that would justify everything. Everybody would be willing to get rid of people having guns. So it wouldn't be difficult to do if you staged a crazy enough event, in which they have the powers to do. In which they had the people dying in the streets, bullets flying, bombs going off. It'd be very easy to do. Our executive order to ban all, executive order to round up, executive order, martial law, like it's just all of this. And then once you implement the martial law, and then once you implement that much government control, what does the amendments matter anyway? Like once you can't move, once you can't do this, once you can't, like what does it matter then anyway? You know, you still have your First Amendment rights, Second Amendment rights. You just can't express them on social media or in public. You still have Second Amendment rights. You just can't own a firearm in these 50 states. Like it's not hard. Like you can keep the amendments. They'll just set up a system around you to where you can't actually use the amendments. So it's not, very difficult. But thanks, P. They really replaced 9/11 with the Charlie Kirk assassination. Edgar Robertson, I'm glad you said that, sir. When my boy showed me the pictures of the plane crash in Pennsylvania, the plane crash in the Pentagon, no plane. No plane. No plane. And you look back and you think, look how easy it was to get people to believe something, even above their own eyes. You go look at the Pentagon picture right now, you're not going to see any plane anywhere. Nothing. Go look at the footage from that Pennsylvania crash. Tell me what you see. Tell me what you see. You're going to see a burnt hole in the ground. And maybe a pillow. Oh, yeah, they said the plane, was the plane shot down or did they crash the plane? I don't remember. I know it was some kind of story where I guess that was the plane where they fought back. But what I find funny is, think about 9/11, and they rarely mention the other planes. And they don't mention Building 7. And they don't mention all the money that suddenly disappeared from the Pentagon at $2 trillion. Think about 9/11, and they only talk about the towers. When in actuality, the most realistic part of it all is the planes actually going into the towers. How these planes were able to just fly through the airspace, we don't know. But the rest of the stuff surrounding it makes even less sense. It makes even less sense. You found somebody's passport on the ground. You found one of the hijackers' passport on the ground. I don't know if you all remember, if you go back to that time period, but that 9/11 site, go back and look and see how long it burned. Just go back and look at 9/11, go back and look how long that site was burning. I don't know if y'all remember. That thing was burning months after that event happened. And if not months, at least weeks. I remember that thing was burning for a long time. There was smoke coming from the area for a long time, if y'all remember. It wasn't just it went down and it was going a couple of days. That thing burnt for a while. Nicodemus said the Port Authority would not let the Greeks rebuild their church at Ground Zero, but gave Muslims the green light to build a 4-minaret mosque. Like I keep saying, y'all, inside jobs. Inside jobs. With everything going on, the government has to be complicit. We got to accept that. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news. We got to accept the government has to be complicit.
And the FBI are now saying that Tyler Robinson had written a note saying that if he has the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, he was going to take it. But now that note has been destroyed. Watch this.
The written note, we believe, what did exist. And we have evidence to show what was in that note, which is, and I'm going to summarize, basically saying, the suspect wrote a note saying, I have the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it. That note was written before the shooting, Evidence of its existence, we now have learned, existed before the shooting, was in the location in the suspect and partner's home. But we have since learned that the note, even though it has been destroyed, we have found forensic evidence of the note, and we have confirmed what that note says because of our aggressive interview posture at the FBI.
This whole thing seems to be getting weirder and weirder, and I have a lot of questions about that note. As always, I want to hear what you think about all of this down below.
So Nicodemus said that the Greeks stopped that mosque from being built. He said it was the Greek Americans that stopped the building of that mosque. Good. Amen. Play this one more time real quick.
Kash Patel and the FBI are now saying that Tyler Robinson had written a note saying that if he has the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, he was going to take it. But now that note has been destroyed. Watch this.
The written note, we believe, what did exist, and we have evidence to show what was in that note, which is, and I'm going to summarize, basically saying, the suspect wrote a note saying, I have the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it. That note was written before the shooting. Evidence of its existence, we now have learned, existed before the shooting, was in the location in the suspect and partner's home. But we have since learned that the note, even though it has been destroyed, we have found forensic evidence of the note, and we have confirmed what that note says because of our aggressive interview posture at the FBI.
So the note was destroyed, but you're certain that there was a note, and you're certain of what it said, but the note was destroyed. Let me see. We know what the note said. We know that it existed because of forensic, and we know what the note said based on forensics. We know what the note's been destroyed, but we know what it said because of forensics and our intensive investigative process. There's a video showing the actual person in the front of everyone doing the pew-pewing with the cell phone style pew-pew. I posted and they took it right down. I saw that video, and see, the sad thing is, thank you, Mystic Philly. The sad thing is that we've been lied to so much to where they've created this environment. I'm gonna say this. The right is behind all of the reporting of what's going on. The right is getting down to the bottom of it. The right is uncovering the truth. The right is giving us this information. So the narrative that we're being painted is given to us by the right. Because the left's thing is either be there was a Romeo and Juliet story, or he was radicalized by the hate from the right. But the right is giving us all the detailed information, breaking down rifles, putting in his pants leg, leaving notes, and that's the right. So what the right is giving us is pure and utter garbage. So I don't know if the Trump administration is involved in this, but they are involved in giving us this cockamamie story. Thank you, P. Dot, for the super stick. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Will, thank you. The alleged perpetrator has the same last name as Blanchard. This whole thing stinks, just like a terrorist passport on the ground at ground zero. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Will. Cruise Missile, thank you so much. Always supporting. Thank you so much. But anyway, But anyway, the devil's in the details. And if you want to know what's going on with something, first you should pray. Pray for wisdom and discernment. Pray that the Holy Spirit reveals the truth to you. And then look at the details. The devil is in the details. Go read this so-called text exchange between Tyler and his boyfriend, and then tell me what you think. Nicodemus said, real people don't type like that in the middle of chaos. They don't sound frantic. They don't sound human. They sound rehearsed. Exactly. Exactly. I'll read it again before I go. After reading the note, now Tyler told the roommate to read a note that was under the keyboard. After reading the note, the roommate responded, "What? You're joking, right?" Robinson's response, "I am still okay, my love, but I am stuck in Orem for a little while longer yet. Shouldn't be long until I come home, but I got to grab my rifle still. To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. I am sorry to involve you." You weren't the one who did it, right? I am sorry. I thought they caught the person. No, they grabbed some crazy old dude, then interrogated someone in similar clothing. I had planned to grab my rifle from my drop point shortly after, but most of that side of town got locked down. It's quiet, almost enough to get out, but there's one vehicle lingering. Why? Why did I do it? Yeah. I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. If I am able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence. Going to attempt to retrieve it again, hopefully they have moved on. I haven't seen anything about them finding it. How long have you been planning this? A bit over a week, I believe. I can get close to it, but there's a squad car parked right by it. I think they have already swept that spot, but I don't want to chance it. I'm wishing I had circled back and grabbed it as soon as I got to my vehicle. I am worried that my old man would do if I didn't bring it back. Grandpa's rifle. I don't know if it had a serial number, but it wouldn't trace to me. I worry about prints. I had to leave it in the bush where I changed outfits. Didn't have the ability or time to bring it with. I might have to abandon it and hope they don't find my prints. How the F will I explain losing it to my old man? Only thing I left was the rifle wrapped in a towel. Remember how I was engraving bullets? The effing messages are mostly a big meme. If I see notices, Bulge UWU on Fox News, I might have a stroke, all right? I'm going to have to leave it. That really effing sucks. Does that sound like a real exchange? Thank you, Mystic Philly. It sounds like Shakespeare BS. I got to work on my accent? No, they got to come up with a better script. They got to come up with something better than Romeo and Julius. My love, I shot Charlie Kirk for you. because that kind of rhetoric about my trans lover, it can't be tolerated. It can't be negotiated with. Where are you going, my love? What are you doing? My love, I'm famished. I must obtain substance. Let me go to Chick-fil-A. My love, Chick-fil-A, but they hate me. They hate the trans community, but my love, I'm famished. I'm so hungry, my love. I must go to Chick-fil-A. I know they hate you, my love. I know they hate you, my love. I know they're anti-LGBTQ. I know they're Christian. I know they're conservative and Trump supporters, but my love, I'm so hungry. I must go to Chick-fil-A and I must replenish myself. I must get a chicken deluxe with the sweet tea and lemonade mixed. Right. Thou havest not fled the scene? No, my love, I'm here waiting. Where I dropped my sword, my love, there's a chariot right there. I hope they don't discover it, my love. My love, why did you do it? I did it for you, my love. I did it to honor you, my love. It's just insane. It's just insane. Wherefore art thou weapon, my love? My weapon is in the enchanted forest, my love. It's in the enchanted forest. Right past the witch's old house, through the brook, past the shire, you will find it. Did you find my note, my love? Where is it? It's under a stone in the courtyard. Go retrieve it and come back. Are we buying this? Are we buying this? Are we buying that he's going to literally just lay out everything? I scaled the building and went to the top, loaded my rifle, put it together, loaded it, aimed at Charlie Kirk, took him out when I heard the word trans, hopped off the roof, ran, changed clothes. Are we buying this? The man changed his clothes and went to Chick-fil-A. But I'm a conspiracy theorist. These folks gave us the modern day version of Romeo and Juliet, Homeo and Julius, and we're supposed to believe it. Thank you, Cyber Dreams. He didn't change clothes. He changed his garments. What happened to your chariot, my love? My chariot. My challenger. With my steed attached to my chariot challenger. I had to leave it, my love. Who's buying it? Who's buying it? Right, Jarrell. Wasn't even smart enough to put fake face hair on, leave his cell phone at home. Kid was a genius, but he wasn't smart. Your cell phone could be traced, so you would have left that. Thank you, Jarrell. Your cell phone could have been traced, so you would have left that. You would have put some kind of disguise on, a hat and sunglasses. This ain't the 1930s. Like, what are we doing? My love, I did it for you. Then he turns himself in. When he turns himself in, they say, why'd you do it? He says, I pleadeth the fifth. I pledge the honor of my family and everything I hold sacred on the Fifth Amendment. He did all of this, got in front of the cops, and didn't say a word. It could be. It could be. Blackout said, I guess he was on top of a rooftop peering over a newspaper. Right. Okay, I'm about to go now. But listen, chat fam, question. If a pastor mentions some may need to be delivered from racism, the way one may be delivered from being a druggie, thoughts. It said something off, something not right in me, but I'm open. I'm gonna say this. If your pastor mentions that someone needs to be delivered from racism, they're compromised. I'm sorry. If your pastor mentions that someone needs to be delivered from racism, they are compromised. Because if you are a pastor, sin is sin. First of all. But the propaganda behind racism is, to me, believer 101. That should be something easy to see through. When we talk about racism, you ask somebody why they are quote unquote racist, and they will tell you that's not racism. Racism is I dislike or hate a person because of their race, not because of their actions. We keep confusing the two. A true racist person hates the person based on their race. A person coming to you saying, I don't like that race because they do this, that's not racism. This might be prejudice, but it ain't racism. There's no such thing as racism. Who hates somebody for simply how they look? Stop. You ask a member that is involved in the most extreme hate group. I don't care what the group is. The hater of anybody group, you sit down and interview them, they are going to articulate why they hate said groups. And it's not going to be based on the way they look. It is going to be based on what they believe they are doing. So, for example, when people quote unquote hate black people, it's a laundry list of things why they hate black people. When people are quote unquote hate Jewish people, there's a laundry list of why they hate Jewish people. When people hate anybody, there's a laundry list of things. It's not simply because they're that thing. No such thing as racism. None. They might be prejudiced. They might be biased, but racist, you'd have to hate them just because they're race. And I don't see that. Not what I see. So if your pastor's in a pulpit talking about we got to get rid of racism and you got to go to God with your racism, it's propaganda. It's probably a libtard, liberation theology, Marxist, and all this. Now he's compromised. Listen, I feel you, Nicodemus, but even a person being ugly is still a thing, though. Because most folks ain't ugly. So even a person being ugly is still like, even babies can tell who looks good and who doesn't. So babies obviously aren't prejudiced or racist. They've done studies. A baby can tell whether you are ugly or you look decent. They know. So if a baby looks at you and starts crying, you're probably ugly. You know what I'm saying? You're probably ugly. Listen, y'all, I love y'all. And I will see you all again on Tuesday. Thank y'all for tuning in today. Hope y'all enjoyed the show. I want y'all to be blessed. Have a blessed day. I thank y'all for tuning in. And remember that the devil is always trying to steal, trying to kill, and trying to destroy. So that means when you take a day off, the devil is not. The devil is always there trying to get your soul. Remember that. So as much as we love Jesus, we also must acknowledge that Satan is real as well. We must approach life as if there is an enemy out there that is seeking to devour us. Love y'all.